this session especially should be dedicated to my dear mother, Rachel Basbrindel. So she's now in the emergency room. She has internal bleeding for the whole day now. So she's stable, but she needs a lot of our prayers and our learning. BeEzrat HaShem. So today should be very, very special class. Very, very special. All right, and we start with Rambam Hilchas Yesodei HaTorah, and also this should be dedicated to Refuah Shlema, our dear Rabbi Yaron Reuven Shlita, Yaron Ben Doris, also to Memory Rachel Basbrindel, as I said, Ariel Ora Basana, David Shlomo Ben Sandra, quick release of Moshe Shmuel Ben Tina, and Atzlacha Rabba to Giveres Hannah Bas Avraham Avinu and the whole family. All right, so today we continue with our class Kosher Kitchen, and then last chapter, chapter 19, and our topic is Kosher Kitchen, Utensil by Utensil. So we go in alphabetical order, and we up to spatula. Okay. And it says, one may not use a meat spatula while frying powder food or dairy, or in dairy pan, or the reverse. If this done, Rav must be consulted. A metal spatula requires tevilah with bracha. Okay, so let's do from the beginning. When one may not use a meat spatula, I'm not sure what somebody would use it. Right, while frying powder food in dairy pan. I mean, right. So person might think, what is the problem? The food is powder. Technically, I can use meat spatula, right? But the pan is dairy. Okay, or the reverse. So of course, because it's hot, right? And if this is done, one must Rav must be consulted. So basically, Rav is going to ask when there is last time this spatula was used, right? And that's it, because most likely it touches the food above Yatzalad as well, most likely. And that's what spatula is for. Even you were taken away from a frying pan or something, still it's like very, very hot. So if it's right above Yatzalad as well, below Yatzalad as well. But metal spatula, I mean, in all the days, I think they have metal spatula, but now I think majority of them plastic. And plastic is better because you're not going to scratch anything with the plastic, right? And pretty thin, right? There is no corrosion, right? And it's flexible. I mean, maybe you don't need to be flexible. I mean, maybe it's flexible, also good, right? Okay, no problem. Right, so but if it's a metal, so you have to dip it in the mikveh. So you just by with different color handles. So for example, what we have for part of we have wood and wood set. Like, it does not cost much money. So for sure, if it's part of just vegetables, right, we use wood one. If it's another, it's with red handles. That's it. And we have spatula. And for dairy, we just store it in a drawer. So meaning it's impossible to make mistakes. So I mean, everybody should do according to wherever is more convenient to them. But sure, for sure, you cannot make mistakes. You cannot mix up wooden, but spatulas and other things with the plastic. Two different shapes, and they hang in two different places. Okay. So next one, sponge. One must keep separate sponges or scrubbing pads for meat and dairy and part of dishes, since actual food particles are absorbed into the sponges. For sure. It is customary to use different color sponges for each type. Right? If a sponge of one type was used for utensil of the other type, Rav should be consulted. A sponge does not require tevilah. Okay, no problem. So again, a sponge. Um, so you have three different sponges. I mean, some people do they sell different colors? I think they sell different colors, but if you have keep it in a sink, for example, there are many even the suction cups, right? Or even on not suction, like double tape, where whatever they call it, right? You can attach to the sink, so inside. So with this thing, how can you go wrong? This is meat thing sink, right? And you have a sponge in there, even the same color. It's not going to go anywhere. It's inside of the sink, and this is dairy sink. The sponge is there, or have one of this. They call what do they call it? Sponge dish or a soap dish, right? Or whatever they call it. Some rest, right? And this is on one side, this is on another side. Like you cannot make mistakes. So what I'm trying to say, like color code. I mean, you can do color code. There's some of them are green, some of them blue, whatever you want. But other different colors, I'm not sure. Right. So we just buy a pack and it's green or blue. Okay. But we just keep it separately. Okay. Right. So again, you have three sponges if you have part of dishes separately. Right. Right. Why? Right. Since the actual food particles are absorbed into the sponges, for sure. For sure, that's for sure absorbed because on one hand, on the other hand, since you do it with a soap, right? I mean, do the people wash dish without soap? I don't think. It would be rinsing, but even I don't know, we wash everything with the soap. Even even glasses that you drink water, right? So we still use with the soap inside and outside. Okay, so meaning that this soap is going to kill all of the food, all of this food taste, right? So I mean, and it's going to kill the food, like the taste in the sponge itself. Okay, so all of this question Raf is going to ask, and plus, were you using what is it? Gloves, right? And then if it was glass or not glass. So now, right, even though in some cases we treat glass stringently, but in this case we can go leniently, right? And say that does not absorb at all. Okay, so in this case you don't need to recushion anything. Okay. Next one, steam. One should not hang spatulas, ladles, right? And pans above the stove top, since they are affected by the steam from the meat and dairy pots cooking on the stove. See the stove top. One should not hold the spice containers in a path of steam when pouring spice, right, into the meat or dairy pots. Okay. One should neither use a separate spice shaker, either use a special spice shaker for the meat and dairy, or just pour the spices in one's hand and then into the pot, or hold the spice far above the pot. Okay. So actually, that's what I don't like. I remember my grandma, right? Oliver Shaw, right? So she told me like a long time ago. Even one time, I'm not sure how old I was. How to salt. So you put salt in your hand, and you salt everywhere. That's it. And that's what she did. She told me that's what you do with always spices. Always. I mean, even we had the salt shaker and like spice, like the dispensers. Still, with like you do it in your hand, and many times you're very grateful that you did it in your hand and not started from a container. Um, one second. All right. So again, so steam, right? So steam. Do not hang spatulas and ladles. I mean, Usually people put the like exhaust, the like hood. But if the exhaust is not there, for example, it's a good ventilation, right? People don't like when the space is being wasted, right? And they sometimes would put the hang like they put a like rag, like pot rack, and then put there the dishes, and then they would hang from below. It's absolutely wrong. It's absolutely wrong. You have to move it away, right? Because the steam comes up, right? And it's like a rest on these pots and ladles and spatulas, and then from dairy and from meat, and that's it. Become treif. Right. See the stove top. Okay. One should not hold spice. So right, and this plus spice container, salt especially. I mean because it's used very often, right? So again, put it on your hand and distribute with your hand, the best way. Or as he said, or have two distinct containers. I mean, in my mind, it's not very practical because like if you have only salt and some one or two spices, there is no problem. But usually, like people have more than one spice, right? And 5, 6 spices. So now you have to have like not 5 containers, but 10 containers. I mean, if you have unlimited kitchen or you have like a daily kitchen somewhere in another like side of the kitchen, yes, that's perfect solution. So you have all of the spices in there. Right, but if you have only one kitchen and you have only one stove, you cook everything like where are you going to store them? Not very practical, right? So I think through the hand is the best. But again, person right, or the third option that he gives, do it high above, so the steam would not reach. Right. High above, all the spices they are light. For example, is the herbs. So these herbs is going to go all around the pot also, right? So continue. So whatever he gave us three options. Whatever you do is good. So continue. Steel wool. Steel wool used for dishes on one type should not be used for the dishes of the other type or for part of dishes, right? One who uses one sink for both meat and dairy should never put the steel wool or the sponge on the sink bottom, right, or in water gathered in a sink bottom. This is advisable. It is advisable to discard the steel wool after each use. After each use, I'm not sure. Okay. If the steel wool used for one type was used on utensil of the other type, a wrap must be consulted. Reusable pads should preferably be marked as meat and dairy, right? By using different types, colors, or brands. Soft steel wool pads should be should have kosher certification. I'm not sure why is that. It is a soap, so I mean we buy soap only with the kosher certification, but is it absolutely like required? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they add something like in this soap. So even if they add something in the soap, right? Still, it's a food grade, right? On one hand, but on the other hand, it's not considered to be food. And plus, you rinse it. You're not like it does not absorb into the plate. So again, even if it's absorbed, still it's not food. So I'm not sure why he said steel wool pads soaked right must have kosher certification. I'm not sure, but let's see. So again, from the beginning, and we understand. BeEzrat HaShem. Steel wool used for dishes of one type should not be used for dishes of the other type or part of dishes. So it's like a sponge, right? It's steel wool absorbs for sure, absorbs and has a particle trapped inside for sure, right? One who uses one sink for both meat and dairy. So we said with one sink, remember, don't put it on the bottom, right? Hold in your hands, or do like inserts, like this dish pan. Right? We said that's another solution. I think it's the easiest solution than anything else. I mean, because it's impossible. It's possible. How are you going to wash like a pot, soup pot? Like it's heavy. Like where you want to hold it with one hand full of water, and full of water, half full of water, and then with another hand you're going to wash with a sponge. I'm not sure if it's practical, but if you can put it down in this dish pan, that's it. That's would do the job, right? And as we said before, when we were talking about the sinks, right? Right, don't put it on the bottom. This steel wool sponge. Don't put it on the bottom, right? And don't put it in the water, right? Because water um, water it transfers the taste. Okay, water that collected on the bottom of the sink. And he said it is advisable to discard steel wool after each time use. I'm not sure. Okay, right? I mean, you can discard. But sometimes there is so much soap, and you don't need to use it so much. Just on in a few places maybe, right? And the rest you can do with the sponge. You can reuse this steel wool, but just remember that it is meat. Okay. Right. So if person use this meat steel wool with a dairy, so Rav must be consulted. So if you have two sinks, like adjacent sinks, use keep meat, for example, on the right, and dairy pods and steel wool and the sponges on the left. That's it. Like why should you make a mistake? I'm not sure. But if something, the Rav should be consulted. Okay, no problem. So next one is a stovetop. So stovetop, we actually covered the stovetop in several chapters, right? When we talked about how to kasher on Pesach, right? And no, only on one chapter. How do you kasher on Pesach? Okay. So let's see from the beginning. But kashering on Pesach and kasher in general, it's the same thing. Of course, we said kasher on the Pesach, it's more stricter in some cases, but technically like the same procedure. So let's see. Cooking meat and dairy on one stovetop required attention to the following possible basar v'chalav problem that may arise. Okay. We start. Meat and dairy pots cooking on a stovetop must not touch each other. If the pots do touch, a Rav must be consulted. The pot should never be placed in such manner that steam from one type can reach the other. Okay. So let's do one by one. So all this, okay. So again, is it possible to use one stovetop for meat and dairy? I mean, I think a majority of people use it. Okay, of course, he said if you have opportunity, if you're going to rebuild your kitchen and now just invest a little more, and install like a separate, if you have kids, right? So install separate stove for dairy. Even many some people don't bake anything in the oven, so they can have only a stovetop, which is so you can have island right in the kitchen and just stovetop. That's it. Okay, so it's not a big deal. So meaning without oven. Okay. So so it's possible to or just split. If you can have this stovetop only stovetop without oven, and in under regular cabinets. So the only thing that you're going to lose is a drawer. It's like I think it's like 4 inches deep or 5 inches. That's it. It's a depth of the drawer, so you can keep this cabinet that's under that. There's no problem. Right? So if a person can do that, do it. But otherwise, we can use one stove top. We use in my house. We have only one. Okay. So, but of course, basar v'chalav problem is is there. So I mean, you have to be careful. So again, the first concern: meat and dairy parts cooking on a stove top must not touch each other. So right. So if possible, so the best way to cook at different time. That would be the best. But if sometimes it's not possible, so kids want this and adults need something else, right? So, but you have to separate like diagonally, like as far as possible from each other. So first of all, they would not touch each other. So touch, as we learned before, touch. What could be the problem with the touch? Because the taste can travel through the walls, right? And as we said before, for example, there is it was a splash from one into another, on the walls to another. Could be a problem. Could be a problem. So Raf must be consulted. The pots should not be even placed in such a manner that steam from one time can reach another pot. I'm not sure how. Like I remember we said it in the oven. In the oven, it was simple. Like it was understood, understandable. In the oven, you have shelves, racks they call shelves, right? So one could be on top of the other. I understand that, but so and the steam from one can go into steam the other. But how is it possible in the stovetop? I'm not sure. Usually the steam goes up, right? Except you remember we learned in the kaveh shar, if it's if you burn like on top of the altar, all this extra, the column is going to go to the north, a special opening to the north, to Sitra Achra. But usually it goes, steam goes up, and there is no wind. Continue. But okay, so he gives us just points of what to look for. Okay. Continue. One should not cook meat and dairy in open pots in close proximity, since they may splatter, right, as we said, as they boil. Possible. It is advisable that the pot should be covered to avoid any splattering. If the open pots were placed near each other, the food is nevertheless permitted, since we are not required to assume that the splatter actually occurred. If splattering occurred, a Rav must be consulted. Some have a custom of placing a separation between meat and dairy pots. Okay. So let's try to understand. So from the beginning, one should not cook meat and dairy in open pots. So if it's closed pots, one on this, one diagonally on another burner, that's the best. And close lids. Otherwise, like if it's going to splatter, like even from outside, it is a problem. Even if one is closed and one is open. Okay. Or as we said, do whatever you want, but not at the same time. Right. It is advisable that the pot should be covered, as we said, to avoid any splattering. If open pots were placed near each other, the food is nevertheless permitted. So we cannot assume is it possible? Is it probable that it's splatter? Yes, but if you don't see any residue like on the side of the opposite pot, so we cannot assume that. Okay. So I mean, we cannot assume that it's splatter, so meaning not splatter. Like after the fact, there is no problem. If splattering occurs, Raf must be consulted. Right. So most likely the food is going to be kosher, right? But the pot would need to be kosher, right? So food they would allow us to transfer to somewhere else. Most likely the food is going to be more than 60 to one to the splatter matter, right? But the pot would need to be kosher for sure. Okay. I mean, the different situation, but that's basic idea. That basic scenario. Some have a custom of placing separation between meat and dairy parts. So, and this I think I would recommend. And we bought some time ago, right? Lifesaver. It does not cost much. What is it? It's for frying. So we not fry so much, but when we did not eat so healthy, we ate healthy but not so healthy. So we fry, and but when you fry, the oil like splatters everywhere. So there is some barriers, like a barrier, they call it screen, I think, like a production screen. So it covers this thing, frying pan for 3 times. Amazing. So like of course you need to watch the screen, but you stove, you countertop, everything is perfectly fine. So this thing, I mean, of course, it depends on the height of your pot, but if it's not too high, this screen is perfect. Right? So meaning if it is going to splatter, it's going to splatter on the screen, not on this. Okay. Right. So next one, some authorities permit use of the same burner grades for the both meat and dairy, since presumably the flame burns away any food residue. One who notices any meat residue on the grate should remove it before placing dairy pot on that grate. Electric stove range are likewise permitted since the coil burns away the food residue. Some have a commendable custom to use separate grates for a dairy and for meat. That's okay. So let's. I mean, some people they go extra mile, and it's commendable. But as I said to someone just recently, I think I said, look, what you do is commendable, but don't get overburned because of this, because it's time consuming. Whatever you want to do, it's good, but if you're going to stop doing other things that you were doing before, it's not worth it, because for sure it's midas chasidus. It's not such obligation. Right? So then Satan sometimes would give us this idea, like that it says a praiseworthy, or Shulchan Aruch would call it. What's it? So he said, if somebody would do so, we will not lose. Right, so meaning the person is going to gain, and there are like a few, another few praises of people who wants to do extra. But again, if this extra does not cost you much like time, right, and effort, no problem, go ahead, do it. But if you're going to spend a lot of time and then it's going to take off from your from your Torah learning, don't do it. It's absolutely forbidden. So you see, like with all your own, like you have to see it as advice from Satan. Okay, so let's do from the beginning. So some authorities permit to use the same burners grate for both meat and dairy. So if anybody asks me, I would not even mention second opinion, because it's too much. Since presumably the flame burns away the food residue. Of course, like when you want to, like if most of the time you cook meat, for example, dish, not dairy dish. So when you decide to cook something dairy, just check if there is a residue. If you see like some food particles, if it's like grease or something, it's not food. And this huge temperature already burnt away everything. So whatever is there, it's not food. Okay, so if you need to wipe some spill, for sure wipe it, and that's it. You can use the same stove for meat and dairy. Right. One who notice any meat residue on a grate should remove it before placing dairy pot on a grate. Okay. Electric stove. I mean, electric. I'm not sure how you can clean how can you keep this electric stove soil, like it's a glass on top of, usually it's glass, so it's very visible. There is some stain on there, so you just wipe and that's it. With gas grates, it's not so simple. Right? It's not so simple to see. Like you have to go from all the sides. It could be from that side that you don't see. But with electric, everything flat. You can see easily. Right, so again, no problem with electric because this coil is going to burn whatever was spilled there. Okay. Some have commendable custom to use separate grates. Again, I would not recommend. First of all, they have it. Then where are you going to store them? 14, right? And then you ask everybody. So maybe the guy is strong, and then the wife. Especially to some stoves they have like double grades. I think we have double grades. So when you have 4 burners, so we have only 2 grades. They have like a cast iron, very heavy. Right. So I mean, he said, okay, I mean, if you have a lot of room in your kitchen, yeah, do it. But again, like you're going to do it, and you guess what? Your daughter, like 10 years old, she wants to cook omelet or something. She's not going to do it because it's too heavy. She's going to forget. It's only a matter of time until people are going to mess up. So I mean, this stringency, if person is living alone or something, I would understand. But to put the stringency on the whole family, it's like find something else. Okay. Commentary. This is difficult for one who has a non-Jewish cleaning help, since the housekeeper will certainly mix the 2 types when washing them. One must make some type of marks on the daily grades. Okay. Usually, like it's not so simple. These grades, you're not going to buy like a generic type, right? Generic style. So you're going to order them from manufacturer. Actually, I'm not sure. When I bought once, like the stove would burn away like completely die, but the grades are still good. That's my experience. Right. So when I bought extra, but I don't think they come in generic. So meaning that you would have to buy from manufacturer. They're going to be exactly the same. Okay, no problem. So continue. One should not suspend utensils above the stove top. Right. Right. One second. Just permitted coils. Right. Okay. We finished that. Okay. One should not suspend utensils above the stove top. For example, spatula, ladles, or pans. Okay. I think we said it in the beginning. Okay. Since they are affected by the steam from the meat and dairy, the dairy pots cooking on a stove. For example, a pot of ladle hanging in a close proximity to the boiling pots of chicken soup comes into contact with the hot vessels, with the hot steam, that may no longer be used with dairy. Similarly, dairy ladle in the path of hot meat steam becomes treif. Right? Even if ladle is not close enough to the pot of the steam to impart its taste, the steam may dry and leave the residue on the ladle. Right, and then the person used the ladle, and guess what happened? Right, it's not like it was ben yama. Ben yama, we said ben yama when there is no residue, right? But when it was clean. But if it was still residues, this taste is not going to go away so soon. Okay. So let's quickly review this paragraph again. One should not suspend utensil above the stove top. So as we said before, I mean, I understand that people try to save money. Okay, the space. But you can have a cabinet, a kitchen cabinet. I think there is a special like type of the cabinet they call it above the stove, right? Like what's the difference? It's smaller, much smaller. Do we have one? Yes, we have one. Right, we have one. Right. There is I think the one right, and it's type that you can use above the stove. It's shorter than other ones, and plus there is another one. I think well, how is it shorter that you can install the hood, like exhausting hood. Okay, so I mean don't put anything hanging like above the stove. Cabinet, there is no problem. Okay. So and the example that he gives, For example, a pot of ladle hanging in close proximity boiling pot of chicken soup. Right? Soup comes into contact with hot steam and may no longer be used with dairy. Okay. Similarly, a dairy ladle in a path of hot meat steam becomes treif. Okay, becomes treif. Even if the ladle is not close enough to the pot for the steam to impart the taste, the steam may dry and leave the residue on the ladle. Okay, so don't hang anything up on top of it. So today there are many racks and magnet boards that you can attach to the wall under the cabinet, and that's it. Right, and that's it. You can use like that. Right, no need to hang above. So I mean, you just buy a bar like hooks and hang things on these hooks. That's it. Like on the sides, like left side, right side from the stove, not on top. And sometimes what we notice, even like close to the stove, like on the wall but close to the stove, also get affected. So we move everything like aside, like from the steam. Continue. The stove hood covering the cooking area of the stove top generally presents no kashrus problem. Okay, since the area below the hood is open and allow the steam to dissipate, right, and not condense under the hood, right. However, when one cooks a very large pot, right, the pot may be in close proximity to a low hood, and allow droplets of condensed steam to fall into the hood, to fall from the hood into the food. If such a case, one must try to keep the pots on the front burner. Okay, so let me see how long is it. Think 1 second. All right, so now we're talking about hood that on top of the stove. So I guess before it's not a big deal to install the hood, but we have to be careful. First, if you're going to have cabinet above the stove, so make sure that you have this type of cabinet. I mean, in that's specifically above the stove. Why? Because it's going to be shorter. So it's shorter, so meaning it's enough room for the hood. Right? So I mean, it's industry standards like. Right, that's what we have to follow, industry standards. Okay. Of course, some people they're not tall, a little shorter, and they want their cabinets to be a little lower. There is no problem. There is no problem. They can install the lower, but the hood must be like higher. That's it, because because of the rising steam. Okay. So again, the stove hood covering the cooking area of the stove generally presents no kashrus problem, right? Because it's like a net in there, right? Since the area below the hood is open, right, and allows to steam to dissipate and not condense under the hood, right? So meaning because it's high enough and there is enough room to the steam, and it would not reach. So if it's an exhausting fan, so it's going to exhaust it. So the different story. But if it's not working, there is no problem. However, when one cooks a very large pot in a very large pot, the pot may be in close proximity to low hood, right, and allow droplets of condensed steam to fall from the hood into the food. Right, it's possible. Okay. In such a case, one should try to keep the pot in a front burner, or another solution, of course, cover it with a lid. That's it. So, or on the first burner, and sometimes you can open this lid partially. So open it, so it's going to be like inside of the kitchen. That's it. Continue. Many stoves has usable area between the left and right burners. between. Hot foods on both types commonly splatter and spill on this area. Thus, it absorbs both meat and dairy taste and should be considered treif. Mhm. Hot foods and utensil should not be placed on this area. One should avoid placing even the cold foods in the utensils on. Very interesting. On this area, since it may become hot while the oven is in use. Very interesting. One may purchase two distinguished metal covers to cover the area, one for a meat use and one for a dairy, and a third for parv, if necessary. One should avoid the glass or ceramic stovetops surfaces, since this presents both Shabbos and Kashrus problem. Okay. So let's try to understand. So again, from the beginning, many stoves had the usable area between the left and right burners. So meaning in the middle. So we have also this. It's like we have a fifth burner, right? It's like oval, right? But most of the time, is it open? It's open. With us, it's open. But there is a cover. So, but again, with this cover, I know that we thought we're going to cover it when needed, then remove it. Look, it worked exactly like three and a half times. Then we got tired. We just remove it, and last time was there many years ago. You understand? So don't buy all these extra things because most likely you're going to get annoyed and stop doing this. Okay. That's from my personal experience. And plus, you're going to do it. The spouse said, like, I did not have time. And that's it. It's become treif. So again, many stoves have usable area, like in the middle, between the burners. Hot foods and both types commonly splatter, right, and spill in the area. Okay, no problem. Thus, it's absorbed. So if it's a grate, right? So it's going to be burn out because of the temperature. But that one there is no grades, right? It's absorbed both in meat and dairy taste, and should consider it to be treif, right? So I mean, we're not going to cook on it, but you cannot put your hot pot on this treif surface, right? One should avoid placing even cold foods. I don't think anybody put food, but food or utensils on that area, since it may become hot while the oven is in use. So oven, like not stovetop, but oven. I'm not sure why it's oven. Maybe from the vents, but again, vents on the sides. I'm not sure, but he said it could be get hot, no problem. So meaning this rest area, it's useless. Don't put anything unless it's never splatters by you. One may purchase two distinguished metal covers to cover this area. Again, I don't recommend people going to get tired. Right. One for meat and one for dairy, and the third for parv. Right, if necessary. Okay. One should avoid glass or ceramic stovetop surfaces. So glass or ceramic, it's usually was electric. So why? Because you cannot put blech on them. It's going to crack the glass, right? And you cannot kasher them. 35. One cannot place blech over the source. All right, I think we said it before. So one of our friends actually did it. He did not know, and when he did it, and he said, "You know what happened?" I told him, "Of course I know what happened. It's like in every book." He said, "I did not read this book." Okay, no problem. So I mean, this right? It costs him. I'm not sure how much it costs him, but the glass, I think it's very expensive for these cooktops. Let's see what time is. So let's do maybe one more. Strainer. A part of strainer may be used for foods to be served. Oh, strainer, I apologize. Strainer, okay. Served for either meat or dairy meals. A dairy strainer, right, should never be used for party foods to be served at the meat meal or the reverse, since it is extremely difficult to clean the strainer right properly, and remnants of the previous dairy use may remain in the holes of the strainer, right. The strainer required tevilah with bracha. So I mean, usually it's a stainless steel, I think. No, not always, but so the strainer, there is two kinds of strainer. There's strainer like to strain the liquid, but there is always strainer in a sink. So I said like strainer, the food in a strainer. Somebody like is going to you eat that food. Okay, Baruch HaShem. So two different strainers. So again, the part of strainer may be used for foods to be served with either the dairy or meats. Very simple. Right, dairy strainer should never be used for party foods, right? Right, because for party foods to be used with meat or dairy or the reverse. So meaning, but party foods that is going to be for dairy food, there is no problem, since it is extremely difficult to clean the strainer. Exactly properly, and the remnants of the previous dairy may remain in the holes of the strainer. So I mean, what we do, we use like a brush, washing brush. But still, is it possible that you miss something? For sure. But a strainer requires tevilah with bracha. I think we can stop here. And to be continued. Right. So there is only a few pages left in this topic, right? I mean, in this section, but there are also several like Appendix B. Appendix B. Right, Section 8, tevilah of aluminum utensils. All of these things. Tevilah of cordware, and tevilah of porcelain. So the whole chua, the whole response, right? And the tevilah of enameled pots, right? Tevilah of disposable aluminum containers. All these things. So we have Baruch HaShem, some more material to learn.